If Jamaica wants to build even greater trust with the diaspora, one of the most important places to start is estate planning. And I do not mean that in a political way. I do not mean it as criticism of any agency, ministry, consulate, or public servant. I mean it in a practical way, because for many Jamaicans overseas, their strongest connection to Jamaica is not just cultural, it is property. It is family land, it is a parent's house, it is an inheritance, it is a retirement plan. It is the hope that what one generation built will not be lost, disputed, or left unfinished by the next generation. So when we talk about trust between Jamaica and the diaspora, we cannot only talk about investment, remittance, tourism, or coming home for Christmas. We also have to talk about whether Jamaicans overseas feel clear and confident about how to protect property, transfer assets, handle probate, make wills, and deals with estate matters in Jamaica. Because uncertainty weakens trust, clarity builds it. Now, I want to be very clear. This is not a video about blaming government agencies. In fact, Jamaican agencies already play an important role in helping people access records, deal with property, handle estate-related processes, and stay connected to Jamaica from abroad. But there is an opportunity here, and the opportunity is this. How can the process feel clearer, more accessible, and more trustworthy for Jamaicans who live overseas, but still have property, family, and legal responsibilities in Jamaica? Because the reality is, estate planning can already feel uncomfortable. People do not always want to talk about death. They do not always want to discuss family property. They do not always want to ask who is in control of what, who is entitled to what, or what happens when a parent passes away. Now add distance to that. Add different time zones, add missing documents, add family members living in 3 different countries, add uncertainty about which office to contact, add legal terms that people do not use every day, and suddenly something that should be handled carefully gets delayed for years. Not because people do not care, but because they do not know where to start. A lot of the time, the issue is not that the diaspora does not trust Jamaica. The issue is that the process does not always feel clear enough for them to take the next step. Someone living overseas may be asking, do I need a will in Jamaica? Do I need probate? Do I need letters of administration? Who has authority to deal with the property? Is the title still in my parents' name? Can I transfer property while living overseas? Do I need a power of attorney? Can my family member handle this for me? What documents do I need? Which agency do I contact first? At what point do I need a lawyer? Those are not small questions. Those are the questions that determine whether a property matter moves forward or stays stuck. And when people cannot get clear answers, they often do the most human thing possible. They wait, they say, we will handle it later. They say, the family knows what it's supposed to happen. They say, I'll deal with it when I come home. They say, my name is connected to it somehow, so I should be fine. But in law, assumptions are not the same as authority. And family understanding is not always the same as legal ownership. What happens when people wait? This is where things become serious. When estate planning is delayed, property can remain in the name of someone who died years ago. A family may believe one person has authority when legally they do not. A buyer may be ready to purchase, but the seller may not have the legal authority to sell. A beneficiary may believe they are entitled to property, but the estate may not have been properly administered. A family may agree verbally, but that agreement may not be enough. When it is time to deal with a bank, court, buyer, government office, or title, and this is how unfinished estate matters become disputes. This is how family land becomes locked up. This is how property that should create security becomes a source of stress. This is how the next generation inherits confusion, instead of clarity. So when we talk about estate planning, we are not just talking about documents. We are talking about protecting family relationship. We are talking about protecting property. We are talking about preserving dignity. We are talking about giving people the legal authority to do what they believe they already have the right to do. This is where the Jamaican agencies, consulates, diaspora organizations, and legal professionals can play a role. Again, this is not about pointing fingers, it is about building a stronger bridge. One of the most powerful ways to build the trust with Jamaicans abroad is to make estate and property information easier to understand before crisis happens. Imagine if a Jamaican living in New York, Toronto, London, Atlanta, Miami, or anywhere else could easily find a plain language starting point that says, if your parent died and left property in Jamaica, start here. If there is no will, here is what you may need to understand. If there is a will, here is what probate generally means. If the title is still in a deceased person's name, here is why that matters. If you live overseas and want to plan for Jamaican property, here are the questions to ask before you wait too long. That kind of guidance builds trust because people do not feel abandoned in the process. They do not feel like they have to depend on rumors, family assumptions, or somebody's friend who knows a person. They can begin with structure. The better way is what I would call a diaspora estate confidence approach. That simply means making the process clearer for Jamaicans abroad so that they can understand the right first step. Not legal advice for everyone online, not a one-size-fits-all answer, but clear guidance, plain language, documents, checklists, better public education, more overseas-friendly communication, clearer explanations of timelines, and a better distinction between what a government agency can help with and when someone needs private legal advice. That distinction is more important. Government agencies can provide information, records, administrative guidance, and access to certain services. But when someone has a specific legal issue involving a will, trust, probate, letters of administration, ownership transfer, title problem, conveyancing matter, or family disputes, they may need legal advice. Both roles matter. And when those roles are clear, the public has more confidence. Trust is built when people know what to expect. It is built when forms are easier to understand. It is built when people know what document they may need. It is built when they understand why something takes time. It is built when they receive confirmation on that inquiry or documents were received. It is built when they know who to contact. It's built when public information is written for ordinary people, not only for lawyers or people who already understand the system. And for Jamaicans overseas, trust is also built when the process respects the fact that they are managing matters from abroad. They may not be able to walk in an office. They may not be able to collect a document tomorrow. They may not have all family members in one place. They may be grieving while trying to manage legal responsibility. So the more structure we can give them, the more confidence they will have. Now, if you are watching this and you live overseas, this is the part I really want you to hear. Do not wait until there is a crisis to find out what legal authority is missing. Do not assume that because everyone in the family knows what should happen, the law will automatically treat it that way. Do not assume that paying property taxes means ownership is settled. Do not assume that having a copy of a document means the property can be sold or transferred. Do not assume that because someone is the eldest child, they automatically have authority. These are the assumptions that cause families to lose time, money, and peace. The safer approach is to get clear early. Find out what exists, find out whose name is on the title. Whether there is a will, find out whether probate or administration may be needed. Find out whether your documents are complete. Find out whether the matter needs to be handled before a sale. Transfer, trust, or other estate planning steps can happen. That is how you move from uncertainty to authority. At the Law Boss firm, we help Jamaicans and diaspora clients deal with property, estate, probate, will, trust and conveyancing, and ownership transfer matters in Jamaica. And one thing we see often is that people do not necessarily come to us because they want legal work. They come to us because they want peace of mind. They want to know what the next step is. They want to know whether they have authority. They want to know whether the property can be transferred. They want to know whether the estate can be handled. They want to know whether the matter is actually finished or just sitting there unresolved. Because unfinished legal matters do not usually become easier with time. They usually become more complicated. So the goal is not just to start, the goal is to finish properly with the right documents, the right authority, the right sequence, and a clear legal pathway. If you live overseas and you have property, inheritance, probate, will, trust, conveyancing, or ownership transfer matters in Jamaica, do not wait until confusion becomes conflict. Start by getting clear on the right legal pathway. Click the link around this video or comment "Boss" to book a free 15-minute evaluation call. The Law Boss firm can help you understand whether your matter is something we may be able to assist with and what step may make sense for you for your situation. Jamaican property estate matters, clear next steps.